Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Hollis Loudon. Welcome back to my home in upstate New York. Come on in.
This holiday season, get ready to unwrap the most magnificent holiday homes with Homeworthy's 25 Days of Christmas. For the month of December, we'll take you inside the most heartwarming houses, decked out for the holidays in true festive fashion. From twinkling lights and elegantly trimmed trees to sparkling ornaments and cozy holiday charm, these homes capture the warmth, wonder, and beauty that make this season so special. So join us as Homeworthy celebrates 25 days of Christmas. The magic starts now.
Raise your glass. Cheers! Merry Christmas! Happy holidays!
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Hollis Loudon, and I'm a luxury maximalist interior designer. So right now, we are at my family's home in upstate New York. Specifically, we're in Loudonville, which is not even a town. It's considered a hamlet, and it's between Albany and Saratoga. So this is not the home that I grew up in. It's actually was a home that was purchased right before COVID, and I redid the entire home. And it is a center hall colonial. So the house was practically a tear down, but we saw a lot of potential in it, and the land behind it is protected by the Audubon Society, so it'll never be built on. So yeah, this is my family's home, and it's where we spend a great deal of time. And again, Little Loudonville, New York. I don't know if you're familiar, but hopefully you will be after watching this. Welcome to the formal living room, and this is where we do our Christmas tree. So in our previous home, we had so many Christmas trees, and to be completely honest, I just don't have the energy, but I also we don't have the space. And so what I really wanted to do is consolidate all of my favorite ornaments into one tree. And this is where we gather on Christmas morning and we open all of our presents. So there's numerous seating areas. On my previous Homeworthy, I talked about, pretty much how I designed this room, and that was so that we had different conversation areas. But we do our one tree here, which is faux. And I just want to let everyone know that is something. Growing up, my mother collected a great deal of ornaments, and the majority of the ornaments on this tree are Christopher Radko, or they were sought out and very special from places that we had visited. So we had real trees throughout my childhood, and they were always dramatic because we had a cat that loved to jump on the tree, and it wasn't the most sturdy. And also, we like to have our tree up for a very, very long time. Actually, a couple years ago, our tree did not come down until July. And that is one of the most embarrassing things. And it wasn't until my father invited one of his buddies from the golf course and his wife over to have cocktails that I was taking the tree down July 4th weekend. So the faux tree is great because of the fact that it's sturdy. The cat can't take it down unless they really try. And the ornaments are not going to slip off. So this is my faux tree, and it's from Walmart. Okay, just like full disclosure, from Walmart. So with the tree, I decorated this the other morning at 4 a.m. because that's when I do my best work. And 3 or 4 matchas deep, what I realized is, and I think everyone has this, is there's, like grade A, grade B, and grade C are like A-list, B-list, and C-list ornaments. So this is like really A-list ornaments, but I really was strategic about where I place things. So as I said, a lot of these are Christopher Radko. This one right here is one of the special Santas that he did. He did a couple different ones every year. I think it's called the Snow Santa. My mom had several of them. And one year, I think my sister Kendall, who is a bit older than I am, she broke one. And even at the age of like 12, eBay had just come out, and it was such a dramatic scene when it broke that she was trying to like bid on one at the age of 12. So this is definitely an A-list ornament and was very carefully placed on. Some of the other ones that I really love, on here are my Plaza Hotel ornament. I did the New York Botanical Garden orchid dinner at the Plaza Hotel, and this is one that I bought right after that. And I also was obviously a big fan of Eloise, and Eloise is on here, right down here, Eloise, and right by Eloise is Skipper D. And I always wanted to be Eloise. And when I first started my career as an interior designer for my own firm, I lived out of hotels, and I thought that I was Eloise, except for they were practically like red roof inns because the expenses were really high. So I was low budget Eloise, but Eloise and Skipper D. Over here, I put these together on purpose. This is my dad's golf Santa Claus. And then right next to it is this Kelly bag, this Hermes Kelly bag. So my mother had a beautiful black Kelly. She had a couple, but one was from my grandmother, and it has just so much sentimental value. And so my father likes to golf, my mother liked to shop. So everything kind of tells a story. We have quite a few that were done in collaboration with Christopher Radko with the Autism Speaks Foundation, my sister Jordan, who actually lives permanently at home here. She is autistic, so we have 2 of them here, and they do really amazing pieces every year. They're big supporters of the Autism Speaks Foundation. One of the other things that I wanted to point it out too is, again, as on my previous episode, and I'll talk about it again, is, you know, this home, when we purchased it, was infested by bees, and bees are actually endangered. So you cannot remove them unless you humanely remove them, and that's a great deal of effort. So the red room, which is our Santa Claus room, was actually, the ceiling was infested with bees. So throughout, you will see also in here various bumblebees, but also hives. So this is a Christopher Radko beehive, you know, tucked right in. So what I love about the tree is it tells a story, and every ornament was collected over time. There's even more ornaments. I could go all day speaking about this, but everyone kind of ties back to a theme that is either a part of our lives or a part of our home. And I think that's something that makes it very unique, and it appeals to people. It's also chock full. And, you know, I could do 1,000,001 more trees, but you know, this is the one that really showcases everything that is near and dear to us, our hobbies, and, you know, places that we have been. We have so many presents. And for this year, what I wanted to do is, I am done with this home for now. Again, we might be having Homeworthy back 2 years from now, and everything will be changed again. But I had so much excess wallpaper, and a lot of people would say, why wouldn't you reuse it in some sort of way and do, you know, another bathroom? But repeats are very large. I explain that to clients, and for people who don't really know much about wallpaper application, it's like fabric, you have to match it. So you could have 2 excess rolls, you know, that have been cut in some sort of way that you really can't reuse. So I actually wrapped some of the presents, and these are presents that are mainly for guests that we have come over, because the rest of the presents are in fact in the basement. Our love language is gifts in this family. So I wrapped in excess wallpaper. So this is actually the Quadrille Valley High wallpaper that is on the walls in this room. This little green Dahlia wallpaper, Dahlia scroll wallpaper in yellow, you'll see is my newest design in the home. I redid the wallpaper in the entry. It was just painted prior, and I can't leave one surface unwallpapered. I have the manual Canova Dara wallpaper that I have in my powder room. Again, this is all in my previous episode. The wallpaper from my pantry, my Alice in Wonderland pantry. This is Brunswick and Fee. As I mentioned, we had, you know, an infestation of bees in my front foyer vestibule. I used to have bee wallpaper on the ceiling. There's a story behind that I'll get to, but this is that wallpaper. And then I also have some excess wallpaper. This is Queen of Spain by Schumacher. Mick Jagger actually had this throughout his entire apartment in the 70s. And this I just recently did in my townhouse down the street. That is kind of our family's, I guess you could call it, guest house. This house was not meant to ever sleep as many of us as there were. The whole intention was downsizing, and COVID totally changed all of that. So I'm often asked, what do I do with excess wallpaper? Of course, this wouldn't be my first thing I tell you to do. I've had clients that I've worked with that we've framed it in panels. I've used it as matting in framing. That's something that's really amazing to do. You could decoupage with it. You could do so many different things, but I thought it was so special for this, especially a lot of these are for friends and for clients. And then, our presents kind of get moved upstairs, was to do something that really, it spoke to the house. It was fun and it was different. So that's just a thought. If you have excess wallpaper, use it for something like this. It's special, and the holidays are special, and they warrant beautiful paper. So the last thing I want to show you today is the Mantle. So this is a gas fireplace that I had installed, but we do not normally run it. We have a gas fireplace in the green room, which I'll show you in a little bit. And that's where we definitely run the fire. This room gets incredibly hot, and especially with so many people in it at one point in time when we're, having our present opening, or this is where kind of we'll have cocktails. There's also a baby grand piano. My sister Jordan, again, who's autistic, she's a phenomenal piano player. What I usually do, because of the fact that I don't turn the fire on and I have kind of this whole area, is I line it with poinsettia. And, there's also this debate, and I should have Googled it beforehand. The amount of times I've heard poinsettia or poinsettia, I can't even get over. So we're calling it poinsettia today. But these are white poinsettia. I normally do hot pink, but I wanted to do something different, so I did these beautiful white ones. I will say, though, for everyone on Homeworthy, they're beautiful, and there's something different to put inside your hearth. But they are tropical plants, for people who don't know. They are used for the holidays, and they become kind of this iconic Christmas / winter holiday plant, but they are in fact tropical. And they also really shouldn't be cut. But what I wanted to do was something very different on the Mantle. So these are bud vases that are filled with poinsettia that have been cut down. And I supplemented in with these beautiful greens that, if you look, they actually have pink on the tips. So we had a little bit of again, all full transparency, because design is all about making it work. These really, when cut, only last 2 days. So if you're looking to do something like this for your own home, cut right before the party. Homeworthy, we had to take a little break in the morning while I fix these. But they're gorgeous, they're different. It's also a way in which, the plants themselves are very inexpensive in comparison to certain florals that you might want to be using. So cutting them down, bud vases, if you live near a floral warehouse, a Michael's, a Hobby Lobby, buy in bulk. And they're just a fun touch. So I decided to do them across the Mantle. They were a little bit fuller, but again, things happen and we adjust. But I would suggest doing this if you are having a party, just prepping them right before, mixing in these greens. I'm really happy with this, how this turned out. But it's definitely something, full transparency, take into account the timing of when you're having people over. So yeah, this is our, main room for the holidays. And my last thing that I would like to point out quickly before we go on and I show you more of my home is that rather than doing a star at the top of the tree, I always do a bow. So this is a Mackenzie Childs ribbon. I had it made up a long time ago by one of my florists, and that's also a great hack, is if you have a local florist that does anything, go in, they can make you one of these bows so quickly, and you can reuse it year after year. You're just gonna have to fluff it. But we also had to do the bow because of the fact that the tree really kind of smashes into the ceiling. So I wouldn't even be able to fit a star anyway. There's a little crack. It's not a crack. It's a little bit of a mark from us dragging the tree. It fell the other day. So that's why I do that. But it's also something different. You see a lot of stars. You see a lot of different things. I wanted a disco ball, but it just wasn't on brand. So I really love my Mackenzie Childs. And yeah, these are some just wonderful little things that you can do for the holidays. And Of course, it's a lot of effort to do all of this, but reusing what you have, curating your ornaments to something that you love so you don't feel like you need to buy more, using ribbon on the top of your tree instead of a star, and then plants in lieu of flowers is something that's great. So this is where we'll be opening gifts and hopefully having my sister play the piano. And yeah, I can't wait to show you the rest of the house, but this is kind of the Christmas hub. And now I'm going to take you to the front hall. So come with me. My personal style, I would describe as incredibly layered, but intentional. So, maximalism has definitely been described in many different ways, and I ascribe to quote unquote the maximalist design aesthetic simply because that is how I've been described by others. But really, I am a pattern and color lover. It's borderline traditional, but with a modern contemporary twist. This home was purchased right prior to COVID. My mother and I were going to do it together, and it was a teardown for the most part. A lot of people wanted to buy this for the land and build something new on it. And what ended up happening, sadly, is in April of 2020, she very suddenly and tragically passed away. So the process of doing this house really started, she passed away April 18th of 2020. And by April 19th of 2021, I shot this house professionally with an amazing photographer, Ricky Snyder, and Francis Bailey, who's a stylist. And I spent an entire year renovating this home. So took it down to the studs, and it really has been an homage to my mother. So, and I have been, of course, tweaking over time, and I'll speak about that. Since my last episode, there have been some slight little changes I've made because a designer's work is never done, but that's the story. We were going to do this together, and then I did it in her honor. Now, welcome to my front hall. So, as I've mentioned, this is a center hall colonial, which means the front of the house is actually the back of the house. So when this house was constructed, and many homes in Loudonville are constructed like this actually should be where all of our guests enter from, but this is actually our backyard. So we have a vestibule in the front, and that is where the circular driveway is and everyone enters. But this is, the main hall, and there has been some updates to it since my previous Homeworthy. And the biggest one has been the application of this beautiful Dahlia scroll wallpaper from Little Green. So Little Green is a company out of the UK, and they take old archival patterns and they produce them. And this is like the most insane paper in terms of quality. The leftovers that I was using to wrap my gifts, I mean, it's so heavyweight that it was wrestling, but they're all printed, and this wallpaper truly has been the icing on the cake in terms of this room. Previously it had just been painted this light buttercup yellow. So I really didn't depart. I wanted to stay in, the very tight color palette that I had already had, which was yellows, reds, browns, blacks. So, I mean, it already kind of has given this holiday look to it just because it has this warmth and appeal. But in terms of decorating for the holiday, this console is always here, these chairs and this artwork, but I wanted to do something different, and that is why I did topiaries. So I got these topiaries down in the floral district in Manhattan, and I drove them up. And what's so wonderful about topiaries for anyone who's thinking about decorating for the holidays is they, as long as you do not kill them, and you water them, you put them in your sink and you drain them, you can use them all year round. So I placed these here, and I took these greens, which I actually got from Trader Joe's. So Trader Joe's has garland that's 10 feet long. It's sold in 10 feet increments. I said 10 yards the other day, and someone was like, no, it's not 10 yards. Very reasonably priced, and I swooped it around the back, and it really has given it this gracious, beautiful vibe, and it's not in your face Christmas. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone likes to decorate differently, but this is already a really moody and and cozy room. And I supplemented in with these vintage ornaments. So these were, again, my mother's, and I'm always very careful with them. I believe there is actually lead paint on these, so I definitely will remove these if there's any guests. I make sure there's never near my dog. But I wove these in as well as dried pine cones, just to add another layer to it. You know, previously in the past, I have done paper whites, but the topiaries were something that I had already had, and I wanted to keep it more green in here than florals. I do a lot of florals. You'll see that in the dining room, but I thought that it was just something beautiful and different. And what I love about it is that I'm going to be able to reuse this over and over and over again for different holidays. I mean, Easter lends itself, Mother's Day, you know, of course, anytime we're ever doing something outside, the topiaries are perfect. And then moving on here, I have my planters. So these were a labor of love. So I did some really wild berries in here, and sometimes I, in the past, have done kind of a tighter you know, arrangement in here, or I've done poinsettias, and I have done peace lilies in the past. This year I wanted to bring a lot of green in, and you'll see the front banister shortly and kind of the rest of the front hall and the vestibule. And for this, I wanted it to seem organic, not haphazard. Of course, everything's intentional, but I layered in cypress, asparagus greens, you know, multiple different greens. And with that, and I even cut some of the Trader Joe's cypress out and put it in through here. These berries, I, you know, normally would do something that's, you know, tighter, more holly berry coming out. But I wanted it to overflow and have, again, that look and an appeal of feeling, you know, just very relaxed. So a great deal of greens, but what I love about this too is, you know, I can always deconstruct this and use this, you know, to supplement on the mantle, and it's also very sustainable, you know, and it will die over time, and my peace lilies will probably, they always get replaced and somehow they never get watered. So this was definitely a fun thing. And of course I did a wreath above, and that wreath actually, again, not to plug Trader Joe's, but the holidays do get quite expensive, is from Trader Joe's. And I simply had my florist do a bow in a traditional velvet. So that's kind of what we have here. And you know, I love that it goes really well with the design. As I spoke about, it's kind of, you know, working with what you have, and it's just beautiful without being quote unquote in your face holiday. And I feel like everything here just blends so well, particularly with the painting, the fabrics, my pillows, and yeah, I love how it turned out, and especially how it transitions into the front hall and the banister. Now, moving on to my banister. This year I did something a little bit different. So normally I would do a much tighter like Douglas fir or garland, and I would weave it throughout. But I wanted, again, to keep this kind of organic vibe and have it just be, you know, swagged. And I usually also weave in berries. I do ribbon of some sort, some color, and bring it through. But rather this year, I just wanted to swag it out, have it just be this pop of green. We have a lot going on. And I secured this all with chicken wire the other day. So something to think about, I think this was a 70-foot garland. I got it from a floral warehouse here upstate. So I just wanted to show this with the garland. You know, you do not have to do something super fancy. This is still incredibly affordable, and swagging it out is a way to make it incredibly romantic. So you don't have to get, you know, incredibly detailed and, you know, swag under each and every spindle. So I just, you know, I wanted to show this. It creates a great deal of impact, and it's not as, you know, fussy or labor intensive as you may think that it may be, but I would suggest grabbing a friend to help you with it because someone does need to hold while someone ties the wire. Kimberly Powers, who is an amazing interior stylist, helped me with that. And she had a great deal of patience and amazing eye. And it came out really beautifully. So now I'm just gonna take you into the front vestibule. And this is where we entered the home. So outside here is a circular driveway, and this is where we welcome all of our guests. So it's quite tight, you know, again, people coming in and out. I have a coat closet here that I receive everyone's coats when they're coming to and from. But I wanted to just do something simplistic, you know, not take up too much space. So I once again repeated the theme of, you know, my Trader Joe's garland, and then wove in some of these antique ornaments and some pine cones. And then I took one of my favorite ginger jar blue vases with a great deal of height, and I put in these stunning two-tone hydrangea, which very much pick up, you know, from the panels. These are antique Decor panels that were taken from a house down in Hudson and applied onto board and then framed in by my carpenter. And I spoke about that again in my previous episode. There's a great deal more detail in there about how that all came to be. But what I liked about this is it has height, it has color. Again, it ties in, you know, I'm really playing into the color story. And I had said previously, you know, I don't like, you know, oh, this pink, not pink, this red and green Christmas. But this is, very tasteful, and you know, the tones of the greens, they all play together so well. And even just the motif of the flowers, you know, those are obviously not hydrangea, they're roses that are blooming. But I do think that it carries together really well. And previously on my Homeworthy that I shot 2-3 years ago, on the ceiling here, I had, with this vintage chandelier, wallpaper that was by Farrow & Ball, and it was a light blue, and it had bees on it that were hung facing outward. So the red room, which I'll show you next, is where we keep all of the antique Santas. And the ceiling in there was infested with bees. And so we had to humanely remove them. Sadly, again, an update is I had to renovate the bathroom upstairs. And because of that, we had to rip open the ceiling. So the wallpaper was taken down. Hopefully it will be put back up. But that is why I took some of the excess paper from the original installation and I used it as wrapping paper. So it was something I would suggest go back and look at that episode. It was really wonderful, and I do intend to do it again, you know, albeit not immediately. But that was something that was on this ceiling that again tied in the blue and you know, brought us back to that story. And even with my ornaments, why we have so many different references to bees throughout the course of, you know, the home and with all of our collections. So next I'm going to take you into the piece de resistance of this home for Christmas, which is what we call the red room or the Santa Claus room. So come with me. Now come on into the red room, or shall I say the Santa Claus room. So this room was briefly featured on my previous Homeworthy, but not to the extent which you are going to see today. So as I referenced multiple times, my mother was a lover of Christmas and she was a historical archivist. And when she was younger, really young, she and my grandmother went to a great deal of antique shows, and she bought at one of her first antique shows an antique Santa Claus. And that started what I can only call an addiction. I don't know, you know, it's hard with people who are collectors, whether to call it a collection or an addiction. So she bought her very first Santa Claus with my grandmother, and it spurred, this desire inside of her to continue to collect, but also to educate herself. So on my previous episode, I think there was a lot of questions left unanswered, because from what you can see now, it seems like someone was a little crazy. And I'm not going to say that she wasn't when it came down to what she loved, but it was done just like my designs, very intentionally. So just before I go through and show anything, I put out some of these books that are in our library downstairs. And for those who collect antique Santa Clauses, there are actually reference books that are incredibly detailed. I mean, I don't even know where people find these, but we have Christmas 1940 to 1956, Christmas 1960 to present, whole books dedicated to collectors for everything from antique Santa Claus to antique bulbs. There's literally books on books on books. These are just several that I pulled from her library that we still kept downstairs. But she was incredibly educated on what each Santa Claus, the era that they were from, where they were produced. Most all of these in here are pre-World War II. And issuing my correction in my Homeworthy, I said post-World War II. And some of them, again, are, of course, from the 60s, the 70s. She was born in 1955, so some of them, of course, were more recent. But she scoured eBay. She went to many shows, and she was incredibly knowledgeable, and I wish I had listened a little bit more when I was a child about where some of them came from. But for those of you who are curious, this is in fact something where there's a great deal of literature on different Santa Claus, where they came from, when they were produced, and the significance. So I just kind of wanted to, open these up and show you a couple. Of course, these are chock full. A lot of them, some of them are candy jars, some of them are ornaments, some of them are snow globes, but a couple of the ones that I wanted to pull are over here. So I will just pull over here really quickly. So Elf on a Shelf is like the biggest thing happening now. And there were multiple that I found when I was organizing that are these little elves that you can manipulate to sit. Okay, here, one just went off the deep end. So I believe I may be sitting on the OG Elf on a Shelf. This is definitely, pre-1950. So some of those are really cool that I came across. She also collected even postcards. So I don't know if some of you are familiar with the Steiff company, S-T-E-I-F-F, which means button and ear. And that's a company out of Germany that they did a great deal of Christmas. They sold at FAO Schwarz for a while, but this postcard from Steiff is dated back to, 1960. So these are just really wonderful things. Some of these, again, she found them and she cherished them. She also loved Kewpies. This was from 1973, that, people used to put Christmas cookies on. And then, some of the more recent things here and in the corner was that she collected the Versace china that was done for Christmas. So here is one, which is, all of the animals and Jesus. And then there's the Millennium plate over there and another with Santa on his sleigh. So that is, of course, those are more recent issues, but it was really a collection that it ran quite deep. And then over here, some of the things I wanted to show were, things that are old but new. So right along here, we have the snow babies. So those snow babies, again, these are from the 40s. And then this snow baby with my name on it, was from 1992. So they're still being made, they're still being issued, but these were the original snow babies. And what was fun about kind of what they did back then is some of them were, very whimsical, but also very facetious. They had, Santa Claus, smoking like a cigarette, we got, a snowman smoking a cig right here. I guess that's a corncob pipe, but to me, that's a cigarette. Also, for some reason, there was a great deal of mushrooms, which I know are in vogue right now. So we have some of these antique mushrooms. This is actually a light. I don't even know how that would plug in anymore, but there's so many different things. She collected the bottle brush trees. This is a Santa Claus just like on a bike. You know, the list goes on, but you know, I just kind of wanted to zoom in and show some of this because every single thing was incredibly intentional. And she put a great deal of thought into what she collected, and everything told a story. And she, of course, as again, a historical archivist, paid a great deal of attention to what she was collecting, what period it was from. And of course, you know, when she was purchasing and scouring, adding to her collection, you know, realizing, you know, what something was worth and what, you know, what it would have sold for then. So it's definitely, this room means so much to us. As you can see over here now, there is a campaign desk. This was my grandfather's, it is now my father's. And when we are not filming Homeworthy, there's 3 monitors on this, a printer, and this is where he works from home when he is in this area and not in Manhattan. So I just wanted to put everything out here today, but we have never changed anything since she passed. So this is, you know, it was always intended to be her office, and now it is his, but it's fun. It's a very fun Zoom backdrop, and it was very fun for me to take all of these out and to take a look at them, and also to now share with all of you a great deal more about what she had in fact collected, and show you some of this. So again, very special, but this is why it's always felt like the holidays in my home and with my family. Before we move on to the powder room off of this little office, the red room, I just wanted to point out the rug. So the rug is from Stark, and it's a faux bois pattern, which means faux tree. And why I chose this rug was because of the fact that, of course, Christmas tree. So it's a fun backdrop for, you know, this entire room, and also, you know, these chairs, which I mentioned previously, I believe in my other Homeworthy, has a vintage Brunswick and Fee pattern on it, and it has pineapple. So this was issued, I think, in the 80s, and I got my hands on some of the fabric, and pineapples are a sign of hospitality. And they're also definitely something, you know, I don't know if people are still doing this, but it is known throughout that it's something during Christmas, many people put them on their mantles because it is a universal sign of hospitality, and actually is, though a tropical fruit, something that is very synonymous with Christmas. So I'm going to take you in quickly to this bathroom. It is a powder room, but it does have a shower that I designed for my niece, and it is definitely a crowd pleaser. So come on with me. Very small, but I just wanted to show you quickly. So come on in. It's tight quarters in here, but this is the, well, it does have a full bath, but this is the powder room slash bathroom off of the red room. And what I love about it is how whimsical it is. So the ceiling was painted to mimic a circus tent. So I actually designed that medallion with Anita Medina, who is a fantastic decorative painter, and I wanted to do something just super fun, super out there. You know, this is the only bathroom in the home that has a tub, so it's great for my niece, great for my new nephew. And the wallpaper in here is Venetian Carnival by Scalamandre. And then I did, you know, kind of this crisscross, you know, motif on the chair rail. Had to make it a little Christmas. This was a little haphazard, but some berries and white roses. And it has just been a fun little place. You know, this room doesn't get a lot of use. Technically, this has become the bathroom that my father uses when he is working, but it's become a fan favorite, and the ceiling was something that was so spectacularly done, you know, to mimic, again, a circus tent, but also to, you know, bring in the waves from kind of some of the curtains coming down in swags, the blue and white. So I just really wanted to show this because it does not get enough airtime, but it is a little jewel box. It's a little bit of an acid trip, but in the best way possible. So I just wanted to share that all with you on Homeworthy because this has never been seen before aside from in photos. So yeah, now I'm going to take you out and we're going to go to the green room. With regards to decorating for the holidays, I grew up in my family's home prior to this home. My mother was, again, a historical archivist, and she actually collected antique Santa Claus. So in our old home, we had what we affectionately called the red room. And somehow this house has now also, we're in the green room right now. We're very creative with what we call rooms. Green room, blue room. So I felt like there was always a holiday spirit in our home. And when I did this home, of course, when we were doing the home together, my mom and I, we're going to create her office and still have a Santa Claus room. So it's still a Santa Claus room, and now it's changed and evolved over time to serve other purposes. But with regards to decorating for the holidays, I try to not get kitsch. I very much try and design in a way that's timeless. And that is also intentional with regards to each and every room. I design as if I am designing another layer in terms of adding. So for example, my dining room, my florals, are not going to be red and green. I very much try and take from the color and pattern that are in my draperies and in my upholstery, and same within here. And I really try and make it intentional, not kitsch, and really it's just whatever works. And I just want it to seem effortless, even though it was a lot of effort and I am incredibly exhausted. What do I love most about this home? I would have to say just the energy of this house. It is not a large home by any means. And again, that is something that everyone has a very different interpretation of what a large home is, and it's definitely comfortable. But I have not met a single individual, and maybe people are just being polite to my face because they know I designed it, that has not walked into this home and said they immediately felt incredibly relaxed and welcomed. And some of the rooms are a bit more designed and I don't want to say sophisticated, but they're definitely elevated yet still approachable. So what I really love about this home is that it's cozy and that it feels lived in, and that it's not sterile. And as much as I have designed over time, you see, and I joke about this, the wear from our cat, or where my dog did have an accident. It's cleaned, but we live in our home, and that's really what I love about this home is just the way that it makes you feel. Even with how it has been decorated, and that it feels collected and very organic. Nothing in here was for show. Now, welcome into the green room. So this room is where we spend the majority of our time in this home, and it is definitely the smallest, but it is the coziest, and it is really the epicenter of the home in terms of where we spend time as a family. With regards to this room, I feel like it already just screams Christmas due to the Blackthorn William Morris wallpaper. So the wallpaper again is William Morris, who now is somehow, there's so many licensing agreements, but for those of you that don't know, William Morris, UK company, archival brand, and this is one of their iconic patterns, and it was hand blocked. So this wallpaper is truly something that, to me, with the thistle in it and all of the different colors, it just screams Christmas. So I really didn't have to do much in here to make it feel of the Christmas spirit. I have a gas fireplace in here also, and this runs all the time. It's even running in the winter. I don't care what anyone has to say. There's nothing like a fire in, it's always running in the summer. It's always running in the winter too, but there's nothing like a summer fire. And to make this more holiday, I designed the mantle, and this is a bunch of asparagus greens. This is an asparagus fern. Right here, but those were woven in with some of the cypress garland that was from Trader Joe's. And then we wove in some of these grapes, and these are true pomegranates. So I wanted to do something again that was different, and fruits are always something fun for you to utilize and weave in. And again, this room does not really lend itself to florals. I have a bunch of tulle throughout the room, but these, you know, really were absolutely beautiful. And what I loved about it, and this was a happy accident, again, want to be transparent, we had started to run out of garland, so I only swagged it down one side. So this is all woven in with chicken wire, and what I love is that it swags down. And then I always have here these vintage Life magazines of Jackie Onassis Kennedy, and those are always there. And above here, I spoke about it previously, is a Hudson River Valley painting, Hudson River School painting, and that's always hanging there. But I've juxtaposed it with some modern art throughout the room. There's a Stephen Barris over here. Again, should you wish to know more, there's a lot more on my previous Homeworthy, but you know, there's many different things in here that lend itself to Christmas without me having to do much. And one of which is also these curtains, which are a Ralph Lauren fabric. Ralph Lauren at that point in time, before now being with Osborne and Little, was with Folio and Cravat. And so I had these draperies made, and there's a Samuel and Sons trim down the side, but the tartan, of course, always reads Christmas. So this room, you know, I don't do a lot of decorating in this room, mainly because of the fact that it's not that big, but also because to me, it already has those Christmas vibes, and it's so cozy. So really doing the mantle is the main thing. I always love to have out oranges during the holidays. When I do stockings for people, it's I don't know where this tradition started. I know it's definitely, you know, big in England, but I always put clementines in the bottoms of everyone's stockings. But having out oranges, having, you know, the asparagus fern in lieu of, you know, something, you know, like a poinsettia or something in here, it pulls the greens in. But the mantle truly is where we kind of make this holiday. And in the past, I've done greens above on the Hudson River painting. I've tied bows. I've woven in through these sconces. But this year, this truly seemed the most classic, and what I really wanted to, you know, do and showcase in terms of my design aesthetic, but also share this with all of Homeworthy. So yeah, this is the green room. And I mean, now I just want to call this this day over and just hang out in here. But I am so happy to take you now into the dining room, where we have all of our Christmas parties and we do our Christmas dinner. So come on with me. Now welcome to my dining room. I don't like to play favorites because the green room is definitely the coziest room in the house, but this is one of the most fun. So this is where I host all of my holidays, and I already have set my Christmas tablescape. So during my intro, I mentioned that really what got me through the holidays in the very beginning when my mother passed away was setting the table. And my very first table was Thanksgiving of 2020. And it was so hard to get out of bed. And the only thing that I could do was set the table. And it was, let's just say, it wasn't that sophisticated. But over the years, it has become something which has become somewhat competitive. And Millie, she's all revved up for this table. She's just like, when are we going to sit down? So this year, every year I choose a theme, and oftentimes I start with a tablecloth. So I usually do a block print tablecloth, and I love to order from Amazon. I love to order from Julia Amory, Pomegranate. There's so many different companies. But this year I decided that I wanted to work with Joanna Buchanan. So Joanna Buchanan is a wonderful woman. She actually has done an episode of Homeworthy, and she has a collection of entertaining pieces that are absolutely spectacular. Everything from napkins to napkin rings to plates, chargers, placemats. So Joanna and I decided to work together, and I was given free rein to pick from her website and design my table. And so this room, when I was designing it, I went much more in the pastel direction. So before my mother passed away, we chose this fabric for the dining room chairs, which is a colony fabric, and it was from Scalamandre. So it was a colony reissue, and we fell in love with it and all of the colors. So somehow now, over every holiday, I really do try and pull back to those colors. So when I was designing this table, I went online and I found these gorgeous plates that Joanna did. These actually are melamine. I believe they're melamine, but they are dishwasher safe. And what I love about it is you can't break them. So my niece, my nephew, anyone, I don't have to worry in terms of having them be broken, but they look as though they are porcelain. And then I have these gorgeous linen napkins, and they have this amazing detail on here in the gold, which, you know, ties into all of the, you know, gold that I have throughout this room. I have my gold fixtures from Federalist, which is an amazing lighting company. I use my mother's real silver from her wedding, as well as these, you know, glasses, which these are St. Louis crystal. I believe they're still available through Scully and Scully. But these beaded placemats are from Joanna Buchanan, as well as these stunning Cappy's trees. So they come in a set of 3. So there's a large, a medium, and a small. So I have 3 sets. One set is also right here. And then I wove in bud vases, the same types of bud vases that I used for my mantle. And I did peonies, and I did some beautiful, you know, wild pink flowers, and scattered them throughout. So I had a really full tablescape. And then in addition to that, what I really wanted to do was bring something else in. And I have a wonderful friend. Her name is Leah Tyrrell. She's from Loudonville. And she has a company called Shuck and Awe. And it is a wonderful, wonderful company that she designs beautiful shell art. So these shells she actually has done herself, and she paints them, and she also did a tree over there I'll show. And then she coats them in a food safe coating. So when I do go to serve, what I will have on this is salt. And in the past, I've used sugar cubes. So these are fantastic. So this really, it all plays together. Over here, I have, you know, one of my consoles. This is a hot pink lacquer. As you can see, it ties together with all of the shells and everything that we have. I do not have them set down right now, but one of our traditions that has been a tradition forever has been Christmas crackers. So again, this started, I believe, in the UK, and what it is you take them, and inside it's almost like a Chinese finger trap type situation. There's little pulls on either side, and you pull. We usually do this at the end when we're having dessert, which is always a red velvet cake, now gluten-free, but red velvet in honor of Jesus' birthday, which is birthday cake. My uncle makes a wonderful one. So you crack it, and inside is a party hat that is, it's a little party crown actually, and usually like red, green, blue, gold. Everyone puts it on. Inside is a small toy or trinket, and there's also a riddle or a joke, or a riddle and a joke. So one of my favorites from when I was younger was a riddle, and it was, what shakes and is at the bottom of the sea? And the answer was a nervous wreck. So everyone goes through and they read them. Everyone trades what they have inside. Sometimes they're a little cheeky. Sometimes they're a little too British in that we don't get the humor. But that's always something to think about. It's so fun. We do it over dessert. It kind of closes out the evening. And it's always fun stories, also hearing what everyone has to say when they're guessing. So the other little things over here, Joe, that I wanted to show were, of course, over here, I have more from Shuck and Awe. I did not use them, but these are napkin rings. These are on glass. Joanna also did some beautiful napkin rings that have snowflake. We just decided, though, however, to lay them simply. Oh, here they are. I have them in this beautiful shell. So this shell is something that when I go to serve, I'll definitely be using this. But Joanna had these beautiful snowflakes, which I may be using once I finally start to entertain, and I will be using this table more than once. As well as I have yet to set the seating arrangement because it is always difficult. But these are from Joanna Buchanan. They're for place cards. But we always try and make sure that everyone's seated, not with their spouse, not with their significant other, man, woman. I don't know if it's PC to even say that anymore. And I have a tree also from Shuck and Awe that Leah made for me. And she does so many different beautiful ones, but they're oyster shells. And there are some more throughout the house that I wanted to show. But that's always something. And I keep all my dessert plates over here. This was my mother's wedding china. So it's a Haviland china. I believe Jackie O had a similar pattern. This was very popular, and it's still available through Replacements Limited, which is where I get everything when I break it, which always happens. And last but not least is this area over here. Again, I spoke extensively about my draperies, my tassels, and this sofa during my previous Homeworthy. But back here, I once again repeated what I did in the living room, which was I cut down poinsettia. I chose two different, one is a hot pink and one is kind of a pink and yellow / cream ombre. And I cut them down and scattered them along just to create some sort of wall here. Normally I have Tommy Mitchell sculptures or my previous episode, but I wanted to do something a little bit different. So this area is nice because people can sit down and have a drink, eat dessert, get away from whoever they were sat next to that they don't want to speak to anymore because of the seating arrangement. But yeah, this is our table, and I am so thrilled to have been able to collaborate with Joanna on this. And again, I had a wonderful helper executing this table, Kimberly Power. Yeah, it really came out beautifully. And I love that at the end of the night, I'm going to be able to put these in the dishwasher. So now come with me to the kitchen where these will eventually be going. So my professional journey has been incredibly nonlinear, to say the least. And I always wanted to be a designer. I always wanted to be an interior designer, but I grew up around a lot of individuals who were lawyers. My father is a lawyer and he is in finance. And I really thought that I was gonna make quote unquote no money and be, destitute. So I went and I did 1,000,001 different things. I finally, though, I did find my way back to design, and I was an economics major at one point in time. I am terrible at math. Don't tell my clients that, but I do have a great accountant, and I have a bunch of people who do the things that I am not good at. But when it came to being a designer, I was told by my father that if I wanted to quit my job, which was very non-design, I had to get a job. So I took every random small job in the D&D building as a personal assistant. I worked with Jonathan Adler. And that was really what created this amazing journey for me. But I always did want to be a designer. I just didn't know if I would be successful at it. But I have been, and I say this often to anyone who asks me about Homeworthy. This has been essential in my career and showcasing what I can do. And I was so thrilled to do a Christmas special with you guys because of the fact that this was so monumental in my career. And I think it's so wonderful for people to see how designers actually live. And yeah, so it's definitely been an insane journey since my previous Homeworthy, and I have projects all across the United States, and it's truly been wonderful. But this house is definitely my project that it doesn't end. So I'm still refining, and we're quite far into it. Now come on into the kitchen. So I do not do a lot of cooking. I took a very, very expensive cooking class in Manhattan at the urging of my boyfriend, who was afraid that one day we will all starve. However, I do not cook often. So on Christmas, we are big cereal and pastry people. So here I have the table set actually with what it would be representative of what we would be eating. So right here we have Italian Christmas cookies. Again, I am celiac, but my family is not. And that doesn't mean I don't cheat, even to the dismay of my doctor. So I also have out a cereal. And what is amazing about this cereal is this is actually the limited edition Elf on a Shelf cereal. So I wish I had the box, but it's hilarious. I wish there were little L's in here. But I just wanted to set this in a way, and I mean, this will get eaten immediately after by my sister and pretty much probably everyone else. But we always set the table. This is where we eat breakfast. You know, I have these gorgeous pink amaryllis, the ranunculus. I love tulipiers because of the fact that I can just easily cut. That's a great hack for anyone. And I pointed out previously, you know, on my Homeworthy in the past, but I'd love to bring it up now. These are actually not windows, those are mirrors. I could not get my windows in time during COVID. So to save money, to save time, I built out this bay window with mirrored panels that mimic the motif up here on the cabinets that is the crisscross mirror. So it's a great hack. Some people have asked me, isn't that a hazard in terms of, you know, light refracting off of it and causing a fire or something or another? I don't know. I actually read the comments. Don't ever do that. But there is a protectant on it that would never happen. And what I love about this breakfast area, especially during the holidays, is that the table pulls out. We can have multiple people sit there. We have four of these chairs, 2 of the same Smith & Watson in the front hall in a yellow gingham that you saw earlier. And so we can bring those in. They're just upholstered differently. And the fabric on this is a Boris Crawl from Scalamandre Krypton fabric. So you can, they look a little dirty now. I should probably have them cleaned before any guests arrive. But they are mold and mildew resistant. I can spill wine on it and it just pools, and it's also UV protected, which is great with the bay window. So this is our little breakfast setup. Sometimes we get really adventurous and we do the place and bake cinnamon rolls. But again, I don't indulge in those, but I always love to have fresh flowers and of course the blue and white motif throughout. So this is the extent of a Loudon Puig Christmas breakfast. So yeah, now come on into the pantry, which is now my wrapping station. So come on in. So here we are. This is the pantry. So this is the Alice in Wonderland pantry I'd referenced previously. As you can see on the cornice that I had cut, that is Alice in Wonderland. You have, you know, the King of Hearts, you have, you know, the frog, Prince. Over here, these are actually Christmas ornaments that I had framed in a shadow box. You know, you have the White Rabbit, Alice. So this is normally a correspondence desk. I actually have my Christmas card right here. This is a watercolor that was done by a woman, Leslie Tamani. She does work with World of Interiors. Amazing interior illustrator that I'm sending out to everyone. And this is where I've been wrapping all of my gifts. So I, of course, have all of my wallpaper remnants. We do have this Kaspari, which I'll be using, which has the leopard on it, very similar to Charles, my leopard that is beside my hearth in my living room. The bee wallpaper, that is the Pharaoh and Ball that used to be on my ceiling. And then over here on this side, we have the bar. So normally this is chock full of booze, and I actually don't drink. So we do try and pare it back during the holidays, simply because of the fact that this is where we're actually making drinks. We have a beverage fridge down here. I have a wet bar over there. Don't zoom in too quickly. My dog's bowl is in there right now. But I pulled out some of, we have so many glasses above, but some of my Mackenzie Childs painted goblets and tumblers that we use during the holidays, some martini glasses, wine glasses. These everyone likes for whiskey. These are vintage tartan that we use, obviously straws. I'll always have out a bucket of ice, but what's nice about this is someone can come in, they can grab from down here, there's some things here, and everyone can serve themselves. And there is a sink here that's, part of this wet bar, but this does triple duty during the holidays, because actually over to the left-hand side, and I showed this on my previous Homeworthy, we actually do have our washer dryer. So that gets a lot of use, especially because I use cloth napkins, which is good for the environment, but I don't know if it is, because you have to wash them and that's a lot of water and a lot of work. But this is our bar area, and I'm always reheating like my 80 coffees and hot chocolate. I have all of my mugs in here, and even more glassware above. So yeah, this has been doing double duty, and I really, normally this would be on the floor, but I really wanted to have my paper consolidate a little. So I took one of the ginger jar vases I had going down the living room hall and shoved my paper in there. And yeah, I've been wrapping away. Got my bows and my lettuceware. So, again, you have to have multi-purpose rooms. And during the holidays, if you could make anything look somewhat nice, do it, because you never know who's going to pop in. It's very rude, by the way, people. But Homeworthy gave me a heads up, so it's not rude at all. But now I'm going to take you into our very last space, which is the powder room for our guests. So come with me. Quickly on our way in, this is the bee wallpaper that was on the ceiling, the remnants. So hopefully we'll be reapplying that soon. But come on in. This is the guest powder room. So here we are. This is what I love to call my little jewel box. It has gotten a great deal of love on Instagram and my previous Homeworthy. And so for the holidays, I don't do too much. There's a lot going on in here. This is the Dara by Manuel Canova wallpaper. I have, my gorgeous sconces. And so I always have a candle burning whenever I have guests coming over, because of the fact that it is a bathroom and the scent is always just nice. So this is one of my favorite Votivo candles. It's red currant. This is always here, my Mackenzie Child small vase. I switched it out to these beautiful green flowers. Again, they don't have to be holiday. They don't have to be red, but they are green and they pick up everything beautifully. And then I have two of these trees by Shuck and Awe. Again, oyster shells that have been painted, absolutely stunning. Some hand towels with my, I have to shameless, Hollis Loudon Interiors logo. And below here, just to add a little bit more of an effect, I have some presents wrapped in the Dara Manuel Canova wallpaper, as well as in the Schumacher Queen of Spain wallpaper I used in my townhouse, which has not been on Homeworthy. But this again was Mick Jagger's whole apartment in the 70s. So I just have these here for decorative effect. I thought that they would be super fun. And then, yeah, what's really nice about this is, it's fun, it's whimsical. I usually have out, again, hand towels. I have another hand towel on the side But when I am having guests, I don't have them out now, but what I love is to have a nice acrylic tray. I have one I just put out today. There's amazing ones on Amazon, and I like the disposable Caspari hand towels. And I've gotten pushback about that they're bad for the environment, but they're good for your health. And especially when you're having multiple people into your home, not everyone wants to reuse the same hand towels. So especially in the day and age that we're in, that's something to be cognizant of. So yeah, this is the little jewel box, and I always try and make it special because it is the one bathroom that everyone sees and everyone gets to use. The holidays for me have been incredibly difficult since my mother passed away. And I think that is why they mean so much to me, because of the fact that it is truly a celebration of her spirit, in the sense of this was something that she loved to do, and it's almost as though I'm carrying the torch on her behalf. And it is a time in which, you know, I can make things beautiful. I can bring my family together, and it's really just a celebration. It's a way to honor her, and decorating for the holidays, particularly my tablescapes, have become the way in which I have grieved and gotten myself out of bed, because setting the table was the one task I had as a child, and I have taken it very seriously ever since she passed away. And they've taken on a life of their own. It started our first year with the 10-minute table, the TBT, to be trademarked. But now they've become a life of their own. But the holidays truly, to me, mean a way, again, to honor my mother, to bring us all together, as that's what she would have wanted. And yeah, it's just a time of reflection and a great deal of happiness and sadness at the same time.
Thanks for watching. Go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content and shopping guides.